Numbers 15. God just killed the scouts who told the truth, which is that they should not invade the land they totally want to invade. And then God killed the people who invaded the land but didn't have faith in him the whole time. So we're left with two cocky, godly scouts, Caleb and Joshua, and all the Israelites who still haven't been murdered. You would think it's now time to invade, but nope. God needs to remind us of all the rules again. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, after you enter the land I am giving you as a home, and you present to the Lord food offerings from the herd or the flock, as an aroma pleasing to the Lord, whether burnt offerings or sacrifices, for special vows or free will offerings or festival offerings, then the person who brings an offering shall present to the Lord a grain offering of 1/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with 1/4 of a hin of olive oil. With each lamb for the burnt offering or the sacrifice, prepare 1/4 of a hin of wine as a drink offering." I can't believe we are still doing this. God killed like 1 trillion birds and just committed another act of genocide, but he's still hungry for more dead things. And he wants these people to keep sacrificing the very little they have. With a ram, prepare a grain offering of 2/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with 1/3 of a hin of olive oil and 1/3 of a hin of wine as a drink offering. Offer it as an aroma pleasing to the Lord. When you prepare a young bull as a burnt offering or sacrifice for a special vow or a fellowship offering to the Lord, bring with the bull a grain offering of 3/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with 1/2 a hin of olive oil, and also bring 1/2 a hin of wine as a drink offering. This will be a food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Each bull or ram, each lamb or young goat is to be prepared in this manner. Do this for each one, for as many as you prepare. Why won't God just give them the damn recipe book? There is no way anyone's keeping the ephahs and the hins straight, which means they'll screw up, which means God will find an excuse to murder them. Oh my God, it's a trap. Listen to the amounts though. God went from give me 1/4 of a hin of wine to 1/3 of a hin of wine to 1/2 a hin of wine. 1/2 a hin of wine is like a 2-liter bottle of wine. It's a lot. Basically, God wants them to up the dosage until he's just drowning in alcohol. He needs to get wasted, and it'll take more and more to get the job done. To which I say, at least this part of the Bible is relatable. Everyone who is native born must do these things in this way when they present a food offering as an aroma pleasing to the Lord. For the generations to come, whenever a foreigner or anyone else living among you presents a food offering as an aroma pleasing to the Lord, they must do exactly as you do. The community is to have the same rules for you and for the foreigner residing among you. This is a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. You and the foreigner shall be the same before the Lord. The same laws and regulations will apply both to you and to the foreigner residing among you. Leave it to a Christian God to welcome in immigrants and foreigners, and then just tell them to leave their cultures at the door, because God wants things done His way all the time. That is not a message of inclusion. That's just arrogance and colonialism. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you enter the land to which I am taking you, and you eat the food of the land, present a portion as an offering to the Lord. Present a loaf from the first of your ground meal, and present it as an offering from the threshing floor. Throughout the generations to come, you are to give this offering to the Lord from the first of your ground meal." Finally, some variety. When the Israelites take over this new land, they have to give God some of the new food. Which means if God ever wants to try something newer, more people in other lands will be murdered. Fantastic. Anyway, enough about God's picky eating. Let's talk about sin. Now, if you as a community unintentionally fail to keep any of these commands the Lord gave Moses, any of the Lord's commands to you through him, from the day the Lord gave them and continuing through the generations to come, and if this is done unintentionally, without the community being aware of it, then the whole community is to offer a young bull for a burnt offering as an aroma pleasing to the Lord, along with its prescribed grain offering and drink offering, and a male goat for a sin offering. The priest is to make atonement for the whole Israelite community, and they will be forgiven, for it was not intentional, and they have presented to the Lord for their wrong a food offering and a sin offering. The whole Israelite community and the foreigners residing among them will be forgiven, because all the people were involved in the unintentional wrong. Wow! If all of you make a genuine mistake, you can atone for it by murdering a baby bull and a male goat. But back in Leviticus chapter 4, we were told that if everyone sins accidentally, we only had to kill a baby bull, not a male goat. And also, a priest had to dip his fingers in blood and sprinkle it 7 times on the horns of the altar and pour the rest of the blood at the base of the altar and burn the fat. Are we not doing that anymore? When did we stop doing that? Does anyone at the Bible Factory keep track of this stuff? Also, how could everyone sin accidentally? Did we all move our clocks forward and forget which day is the Sabbath? Do you know how much time God has spent going over the rules? Is it accidental if we just forgot the list? Or is it accidental if we know it's wrong, but just say we forgot? Who gets to be the arbiter of ignorance? Because God is making it sound like he is not the one deciding. Anyway, this leads to a fairly obvious question. What will God do if just one person screws up? But if just one person sins unintentionally, that person must bring a year-old female goat for a sin offering. The priest is to make atonement before the Lord for the one who erred by sinning unintentionally, and when atonement has been made, that person will be forgiven. One and the same law applies to everyone who sins unintentionally, whether a native-born Israelite or a foreigner residing among you. Oh, sure, if it's just one person making a mistake, then sacrifice a female. They're expendable. I should have guessed. You know, in Leviticus chapters 4 and 5, God said that if one person accidentally sins, they have to sacrifice an unblemished bull or an unblemished ram. I guess we've moved on to, just kill a woman. Anyway, that leads to another fairly obvious question. What the hell is God gonna do when someone intentionally doesn't do whatever God wants? Uh-oh, someone better lock up the zoo. But anyone who sins defiantly, whether native-born or foreigner, blasphemes the Lord and must be cut off from the people of Israel. Because they have despised the Lord's word and broken his commands, they must surely be cut off. Their guilt remains on them. I mean, that actually sounds fine. I mean, if I'm disobeying God, it's probably because I don't take God seriously. So kicking me out of the God tribe sounds like I'm getting everything I want. You can't use that as a threat. If you disobey me, then you don't get to hang out with all the people who worship me. I mean, that's like an atheist's dream. I think it's time to move on to an example of all this in practice. While the Israelites were in the wilderness, a man was found gathering wood on the Sabbath day. Those who found him gathering wood brought him to Moses and Aaron and the whole assembly, and they kept him in custody, because it was not clear what should be done to him. Then the Lord said to Moses, "The man must die. The whole assembly must stone him outside the camp." So the assembly took him outside the camp and stoned him to death, as the Lord commanded Moses. Well, that took a dark turn. I thought we just learned that if someone breaks the rules, worst case scenario, that person should be exiled. But now, the second it happens, God decides the guy needs to be executed, because you can't cure God's bloodlust. And you certainly can't get religious people to value life when they're brainwashed into thinking God prefers death. What was the point of all those rules if God just gets to substitute execution whenever he feels like it? How do we know that guy didn't just accidentally sin? These people do the same thing day after day. It would be easy to just forget it's the Sabbath. That could have been a simple mistake. Why did we skip over the animal sacrifice, which was already insane, and jump right to human torture? But there you go. A man gathered wood to keep his family warm or to cook some food, and God rewarded his proactive, thoughtful nature by having him killed. No one ever appreciates Daddy. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, throughout the generations to come, you are to make tassels on the corners of your garments, with a blue cord on each tassel. You will have these tassels to look at, and so you will remember all the commands of the Lord, that you may obey them and not prostitute yourselves by chasing after the lusts of your own hearts and eyes. Then you will remember to obey all my commands and will be consecrated to your God. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord your God." Really? We're going to rely on tassels to remember that God's going to murder us if we don't listen to him? I guess God's given up on writing commandments on plaques. We're just going with blue frilly things on your clothes now. I'll be honest. If you want me to remember something, a dead guy lying in front of me is going to be way more effective than some blue string on my clothes that I'm going to forget exists in about 2 days. Seriously, God could just as easily have handed out body parts from the dude he just murdered, and we'd be done with intentional sinners forever. I don't even know why we're doing this anymore. We already know God likes his food prepared in certain ways, and that he requires everyone to follow all of his rules, and that he really cares about your clothes. Why are we rehashing everything again? Just let these people invade the new village and move on with the story.